Hey everybody, welcome back to Diabolical Garage. Today we're going to be installing and building the JL locker. This is the system that's made specifically for the two-door JL, keeping the rear seat in. So this still gives you the ability to have a lockable compartment behind the seat, so you can still throw gear bags, backpacks, purses, whatever kind of tools or things you want to carry back there, hidden and fully secure from everybody. So these are the parts right here on the JL system. This is the wall panel under here. This is the folding top, what we call the tail skin, the left and right wall, floor brackets, bump stops. There's two that go behind the roll bar and a small one for the right rear corner, and it's hardware. So I'm going to walk through doing the full install on this, building the whole system together, and then it can be set into place as one big piece, which is really nice. The only tools that you'll need is a 7/16 socket, a 7/16 wrench, a 10mm socket for the hinge hardware, maybe a pair of scissors, a screwdriver for the locks, and a mallet just to tap in the lock assemblies. If they're a little tight going through the holes, it's okay. It's made to be a press-in fit. The only other tools that you'll need then for the Jeep itself is you don't have to take the hardtop off to install this, but you will need to loosen your tailgate latch assembly, which is the D45 size, along with your two rear D-ring bolts, which are also the D45 hex head system. So I believe standard in the JL kits are a D40, not the 45. So you may have to go pick up one of those, or if you've got it in your tool bag already, great. So I'm going to move a few parts over so I can build right here. So I'm going to move the folding top over and the tail skin. So let's see, let's take out this out of its bag. And then what we're going to do is we're going to set it like this, just so you can see how it goes. So this is your wall. This is how it's going to sit up. You'll see that there's a notch out right here. This is for your speaker in the floor if you have one installed in your Jeep. So we're going to take the left wall, which is the driver's side wall. This is what we call giraffe legs. This goes down in between your two bolts that are on the tailgate latch. So when you go to install this, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to mark where your tailgate latch is with a front and rear mark. It can be on tape, a little marker spot, before you loosen those up, because this will give you the adjustment on height and setting it nice and square in there. Okay. So on this, you'll see that there's a slot here. This is for your bump stop when it goes into place and keeps everything from moving forward as it goes up against the backside of your roll bar. This cutout is for your plug-in on the driver's side and your LED light. So that's those two parts still function as normal. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this and set it inside the two holes on your side of your wall. We're going to take 1/4 inch nut and washer and put these on tight all the way. So once you get it in place, you can tighten it all the way down. These are using the 1/4-20, which is a 7/16 socket or wrench, to tighten them up. These are nylock nuts, so you don't have to torque them. These are just hand tight. take my socket and tighten these all the way up. There's slotted holes on these so you can adjust it to where you've got it nice and flush across the top, and the ability to adjust it if you need to. Okay, so we changed the camera position so it's a little bit easier to see. What we're going to do is we're going to install the bump stops now that go on the sidewalls that keep the entire system from being pushed forward to gain access to the system. So we're going to take the bump stop, nut and washer, and we're going to put it on loosely. You're going to put it in through the slot on the side, and go about 3/4 of the way tight with it. That way you can still move it around. So when you go to install it into the Jeep itself, you're just gonna do a final adjustment and tighten it up. So it still moves at that point. You can see it right here, and that's where it goes up against the roll bar like this. It'll just adjust up or down to get the angle of the plastic around the roll bar. So now we're going to jump over to the left side, right side, my left. Push in all three PIM studs, and then put nut and washer on them. And you can tighten these all the way down also. Double check your height, make sure it kind of matches up with the other side. This just so it's nice and even. Like I said, these are just hand tight. You don't have to try and torque them, otherwise it's too much. So we're going to take the other bump stop for the roll bar that's down in this position down here, which is the front upper corner. We're going to put it in place, put a nut and a washer on it, and tighten it most of the way up so you can still move it when you do your installation into the Jeep. Just tighten that, like I said, about 2/3 of the way up so you can still move it loosely. For when you set it in place, you can move this around. And then if you notice, on the back upper right corner, which is closest to the tailgate, is another slotted hole. This is for the right rear corner. So on the driver's side, you've got the Giraffe and the floor bracket, which keeps everything nice and tight in from moving the main assembly around. But on the passenger side, there really isn't anything to attach to up high. So that's why we're doing another bump stop, this small bracket right here. This will go in this corner right here, and it will sit just like this, and it goes against the rear body tub in the right rear corner. So with this one, we're going to do the same thing, nut and washer. And if you push it down, down in the slot, you can see that it moves. Push it down, and then when you get it in the Jeep, if you need to loosen it and pull it tight against the body, that's just by doing that and tightening up the nut. So I'm going to sit there and get this about 90% tight, just so it's there and it's not spinning freely. It's roughly correctly and lined up and tight. So when you put it in, drop it into place, you might just have to move that 1/4 of an inch to put it tight against the body, and that keeps all four corners nice and tight. So then the next item, you'll see that there's 2 studs right here. This is for your floor brackets. That's these 2 guys right here. And what these do is these go underneath your D-ring carpeted panel that's about 3.5 inches wide. You want to pull your rear D-ring bolt out because we're going to use the same hole underneath the carpeted panel, then the D-ring bolt going back in. So again, you can put these in and have them pretty much in place. Just keep them a little bit loose so that when you go to install it, I'm putting them on right now just so you see it, but what you're going to do is once you get it to the Jeep itself, you'll be able to pull this off, stick the bracket underneath, and then put your nut and washer on and go tight. This is to show you where they go. You can leave them off at this point, or you can just put them on so the whole system is nice and tight, and you can see how those will drop down and pick up your D-ring bolt at the lower corner. So this gives you a bracket connection at the bottom of the slipstream locker structure. So the next thing we're going to do, I'm going to flip this around. We're going to work on the folding top. And what we're going to do is this flat flange on both ends, this is going to get your rubber seals that are peel and stick. They're going to go right here. You can cut them down to fit. If you bend one end over, you'll see exactly where to cut it. And this is just to eliminate the metal on metal bouncing around. It keeps it nice and quiet. So just set it in place, stick it down, just like that. Do the same thing on the other side. Squeeze it on, sticks just like that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take the large hinges that come with the system. These are going to go right in here, and the other part will be on the folding top. So we're going to put these in here first. Put the nuts and washer on. This is the 10mm socket to be able to hold them. And those nuts and washers, don't use the 1/4 inch one. As you go to tighten that down, you may snap the posts off. And with this being a nylock thread, you should be able to spin it at least 1 full revolution onto the post before you need to tighten it up. And that way you know it's not cross-threaded. I'm going to do the other side, and then we'll tighten them up. These are also slotted holes, so you can have a little bit of adjustment if you need to line up the lock assemblies and just have the top be flush from side to side. There we go. That got almost 2 full spins on it. Again, it's a 10 millimeters. I'm pushing down on the hinge so it's all the way back. Snug it up. Again, you don't have to torque it. Over tightening that may cause a stud to snap in the hinge itself. So don't go over tight. Just like that. Okay. Now, I'm going to grab the folding top. So the folding top is going to sit right in here, just like this. So if you slide it down like that, rotate your hinge up. You might have to lift up on it just to get it to pop into place. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a nut and a washer to hold that before I go do the other side. Just so I know that the hinge won't fall all the way out. Again, make sure that you don't cross thread the hinge studs. You should be able to get a full turn on the nut. Okay, got that one in. Do the same thing. Oops, wrong one. These are metric, so grab the smaller metric nuts and washers than the ones that are the 1/4 inch. So I am going to go ahead and tighten each of those down just to hold it nice and snug. And what I'll do is I'll spin this around so you can see it from this side as we do the other ones. So grab a nut and a washer. And we do supply extra bolts, nuts, washers, so if you see that you've got a couple extra, it's okay. We do that just in case you drop one and you lose it. You're not trying to then have to run to the store to go do a replacement. Okay. So now what we're going to do, and you can see that the foam is wanting to kind of push this open. That's okay, because when it's down and locked into position, it'll be nice and tight. That foam will eventually crush down a little bit, and it won't be as tight. But that's okay for now. So now we're going to take the lock assemblies, these guys, and we are going to pull the cam lever off because we want to swap out to the larger cam lever. As we had to make a special one to fit. So when you take the screw off the back side, be careful because there's also an O-ring that fits in there. And the guts, the lock cylinder, will actually slide out. So what we want to do then is press the lock cylinder, outer cylinder, into place. And this is where you can see that it's extremely tight. We did that for a reason. It's a press-in fit. So this is where if you get a chance and you got a mallet or the butt end of a hammer, this way it won't mar up the face of your lock. And this is okay to pound it. It's not an issue. We want it to be a nice tight fit. Haven't had an issue yet, knock on wood, with threads getting messed up. And this is where you take one of your lock nuts and you'll put that on the back side. And you're just gonna spin that on into place. Spin that down nice and hand tight. It's not gonna come off. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put the lock cylinder back in. And this is if you want to rotate it around so you get your key lock to fit in any specific direction. That's up to you. Doesn't really matter to me on how I do it. I just care that the key goes in and it locks. So I'm going to put the key itself in and I'm going to slide it back into the cylinder. And I want to make sure that it spins. So if I want, and you can choose which direction you want your key if you want it locked. So in the locked position, I like it myself for the key to be up and down. So I've got the key in the up and down position right now. So what I would do is I'll take the O-ring, I'll put it back in here so it holds, and then I'm going to take the new cam lever and you'll see how that goes this way so that it holds up against there. So this is where it takes a little bit of finesse to be able to put the screw back into place into the lock cylinder. With that snug, you'll see that that's the lock position, unlock. And my key is now horizontal from left to right. Lock, straight up and down. Horizontal is unlock. So what you're also going to do is we supply, there's a little bit of a gap here, and that's on purpose. What we're going to end up doing is taking this magnet. This is a peel and stick magnet. We made this so this is your cam lever back plate so that you're not metal on metal. So all we're going to do is we're going to cut this in half. So that what we want to do is we want to place that here, and you'll notice that it's wider. So what you can do, it's wider than the flat part right here. So what you can do is you can do the same thing with cut it in half lengthwise. And what we're going to do is we're going to peel and stick. So I want to see where the lock comes up to there and it spins down. So I want to put that magnet right there. And that takes up most of the gap. Now here's where you can do one of two things. If you want, you can bend your cam lever over a little bit so it makes it tighter, or you can double up on that magnet. So I'm just going to double up on it right now from a thickness standpoint. You can see that's much tighter by just doubling up. So in production, you get a little bit of variation on bends. It's not an issue because we give you the ability to make an adjustment with it. So now we're going to put the lock assembly in on the other side. So we're going to do the same thing. Key, lock nut, cam lever, magnet. I always put the key in and I make sure that it spins. We're going to take the cylinder out of it. So you're going to take the screw off the back. You're going to pull the cam lever. Remember, don't lose the O-ring. That's the little guy. So put this over there since we're not using that. And I'm going to pull the guts out of the cylinder. And then we're going to pop the cylinder in on this side. Again, it's a tight fit. It's that way on purpose. Sometimes you can press it in. Sometimes you got to tap it. It's okay. Take the lock nut, put that on the back side. Spin that on. Now sometimes if you run into this, when you put your lock cylinder in, if you find that it's not spinning, there is one position of the 4 positions, 0, 3 o'clock, or 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, where it may have a completely lock out position. All you do is rotate 90 degrees on your cylinder so that you get full movement on your lock assembly. So again, here I'm moving mine around. I want to take my new cam lever. I want to put the O-ring in first. Put the cam in. And this, my key is in the straight up and down position, which is, I'm using it as my lock position. Looks like I got a little bit of powder coat stuck in here, so I'm going to just trim this a little bit. You can, because this is aluminum, where it was sitting on the rack, powder coating and drying. Got a little bump. So holding your key, put that into place. Hold it, put your lock screw back in to the back side. Push on it, tighten your screw up. So my key is straight up and down for the lock position. Unlocked is level. So now I want to do the same thing with my magnet, peel and stick magnet that we use as the cam lever back plate, or whatever you want to call it, to just keep it from being metal on metal and pulling the powder coat off. So we'll take the first half, and I want to set it right at where the top of the cam lever is. So if I set that there, push it down, open the lock all the way up, that helps me as a given space that this will sit. So push that on nice and tight. Then we're going to do the same thing with the other one. Peel it, stick it. So now it's double wide, double thick. So when you do your lever, it's nice and tight. And when this is in position, you may have to push down on the top for the cam lever to lock. And that's just because of, again, the foam is pressing that up and out. But now in this position, you have, slippery, your full system to be able to put in place. The only thing that we have to do still, and we wait to do this till we get it installed, is the tail skin. That's this little guy right here. Bolts up to the 3 bolt holes on the back end. This is what fits into your tailgate groove when you close your tailgate. So this gives a nice tight fit. There's a rubber edge seal that goes on the edge, and that protects it from there. So what you're going to do is you're going to take this entire system just like this. If you want, you can pull the floor brackets off now, set it in behind the seat, and then pull your D-rings on both sides. The rear one, you may have to loosen the middle one to get this down underneath the carpeted piece to sit just like that, and then put the nut and washer on and tighten that up. So then when you want to do your check your movement from being able to push it this way or pull it, this is where you adjust on both sides your bump stop for the back of the roll bar and the bump stop for the right rear corner of the body tub. And that's the full assembly of the locker that you can do on a table, and it's ready to install right now. So the next step that we'll do is we'll actually have some help showing how we're installing it in the back end of your JL 2-door. So for now, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, always reach out to us, let us know, and we can help you out.